Hi everybody, I'd like to introduce you to the Moto E second generation, which Motorola were kind enough to send me to review. The Moto E is an incredibly cheap Android smartphone available for under £100 with a 4.5-inch Gorilla Glass display, a Snapdragon 410 processor, 8GB of internal storage, and a micro SD card slot where you could add another possible 32GB of storage. It's got 1GB of RAM, a 2390 mAh battery, a 5-megapixel main camera, and a VGA screenside camera. It runs on the latest Lollipop 5.0.2, but the question has to be, can such a cheap phone hold its own, or are the economics of bringing a smartphone in at that price going to leave too many compromises? Well, let's take a closer look. Okay, I'm going to stick a spoiler in this review straight away by saying that I really like this phone. And even though I'm used to using phones like the HTC One Max, and then before that the Galaxy Nexus and the HTC Desire before that, this little Moto E has really charmed me. Basically because I'd forgotten how nice it was to have a smaller form factor device, and because the screen is so bright and clear, it's great to look at. The Moto E does almost everything I could want in a smartphone, with the only catch really being the camera, but even that performs okay in nice sunny conditions. So back to the review, and let's start by having a look at the size of the Moto E compared to some other phones. So what you can see here is the HTC One Max, a beast of a device, my old dear Galaxy Nexus, and a really old HTC Desire. And as you can see, the Moto E is a compact phone, but it's not that small. But what you can do is use it one-handed, no problem. And don't worry about typing on a smaller phone, because with the Android swipe keyboard and predictive text, it is incredibly accurate. Speaking of the screen, it's great for watching video. I can't show you any copyright protected films or shows from Netflix, but this is me on YouTube, and as you can see, the screen is bright, clear, and good enough to watch shorter videos, films, and TV episodes and whole films too. The spec of the screen is 540 by 960, which is absolutely fine. And always remember that super high-res screens need multi-core processors that chew up your battery life, and I'd rather have a phone that lasted all day than a screen that made the battery go flat in a few hours anyway. While we're on the subject of battery life, the 2390 mAh battery on the Moto E is rated at 24 hours standby with 6 hours of talk time or 12 hours of playing music. In my tests, I got about 9.5 hours of normal use with an average amount of phone calls, messages, looking at apps, watching videos, taking photos, which is actually probably quite heavy use, to be honest, with the way I use my phones, and that still left me with 15% of the battery left. I did another day where I turned on the battery saver and kind of did the same thing and got 11.5 hours, and that still left me with 15%. So if you do run the battery saver, the phone runs a little bit sluggish, and then you have to go into apps to make them sync. But I would say for the average user, the Moto E will last you a working day. But if you're a power user, and you're on your phone like 6-7 hours a day constantly watching videos or just surfing the web or something like that, I'd recommend keeping a charger or a portable battery pack to hand just in case. So now let's have a look at how the phone goes together. The battery is not accessible, but to get all the slots, you lever this part here, and the replaceable rubber band comes off, and you can then see the spaces for your SIM card and the micro SD slot. Putting the band back on, I really like the feel of the Moto E. The band has a great rubber grip. The back feels like rubberized plastic. I can't talk today. And the little dimple on the back fits my finger nicely. This does not feel like a phone you could drop by mistake. It feels really good in the hand. Listening to podcasts is a particular passion of mine, and the Moto is great at that. The speaker is loud enough to have the phone on the side while you do the cooking or some handiwork, and if you're in a noisy environment or want better quality of stereo sound, you could plug some earbuds in or use the phone with Bluetooth headphones, which is my method of choice. With budget phones, it can often be a worry about whether the device can handle all your favourite apps, but I've got to say that I've installed everything that I use on my phone. the HTC One Max, and the Moto E runs them perfectly. I mean, I'm a heavy Feedly user for my RSS feeds and stuff like that, and that looks great, and I love the way that Android makes it super easy to share links between apps. YouTube, as you guess, is incredibly important to me, and that works fine. Instagram looks great, Facebook and Twitter work as you'd expect, and my two main short messaging apps, Hangouts and WhatsApp, work fine too. I spend a lot of time in Gmail, and that's fine, as is the calendar application. I've used the Maps app for some in-car navigation. I've got to say I was very impressed. The apps were quick and snappy, and the voice instructions came in on time, which sometimes doesn't happen on my HTC One Max, so that was impressive too. I would recommend that you plug the phone in on long journeys or have a power pack though, because using GPS for long periods will drain your battery. I wouldn't particularly recommend the Moto E as an ebook reader. The text is sharp enough, but if you've got old eyes like me, then you'll struggle with the smaller screen and find yourself pinching and zooming an awful lot, but it is usable. Navigating the apps is simple enough. There's plenty of home screen real estate that you can expand, and you can use folders or groups your apps together if you want to. You can create shortcuts, and there's plenty of different widgets and wallpapers too. Hit the little square button in the corner and you can see all your recently used and open apps and choose the one you want. Suffice it to say, the Moto E should handle all of your apps no problem. And as I've said, I've used this phone for real as my main device, complete with a SIM, for over a week now, and I haven't felt the need to dig out my HTC One Max at all. With all my apps installed and without using a micro SD, I've still got about 1 gig of storage left. But if I had a card installed, I could transfer some apps across, and of course all of my photos, videos and music would be stored there too. So I'd suggest that if you're a heavy app downloader, especially games, you'll want to install an SD card. If you haven't used a Motorola phone before or the latest version of Android, there's some really nice touches to the operating system on this phone. I love the way you can turn the camera on just by twisting the phone back and forth, even if it's off and locked, allowing you to capture all those moments that you'd normally miss while you fiddle around with an unlocked screen. And I really like the way the phone can tell you about alerts even from the lock screen, and you can check them without unlocking the phone. Just swipe the little padlock up for more details. In fact, if all you want to do is check the time, date, or whether you've got any notifications, just pick the phone up without even touching the screen and it will tell you. Google Voice Search is readily available, saying OK Google, and you can turn the settings on so it's available from any screen, so as long as the phone screen is on. Notifications are easily read by sweeping down at the top of the screen, and an extra swipe gives you your common settings, or you can go in deeper by pressing the icon in the top right corner. Press on the time and you can set or change alarms, check the time all over the world, set a countdown timer, or use a stopwatch. Android Lollipop really is a nice polished user interface, and it all works very well on the Moto E, and I'm sure Motorola will bring us updates nice and quickly as Google issues them. Right, now the camera. It is 5 megapixels on the back and a simple VGA camera on the screen side. The main camera is really simple to use. You can just press the icon or just twist the phone to fire up the app and then just tap on the screen to take a photo. What I really like though is that if you go into the settings, you can turn on manual focus. It's not like manual focus on a film camera where you have to turn the lens, but it lets you select which part of the screen that you want to focus on, and that also sets the exposure as well. But you've got exposure compensation because you can slide this little bit around here and you've got an instant change, which I think is so simple and so good. Quality wise, the camera takes nice photos in good light. So outside on a sunny day you can get good pictures, but inside the camera starts to struggle and your photos can get grainy and a little blurred. The screen side camera is pretty low res and suffers from the same issue, so you wouldn't want to use it for taking quality selfies, but it's okay for video calling and the odd snap. Video from the main camera is great when you're outside in the sunshine, but grainy when inside, but it does shoot HD at 720p and has a slow-mo mode too. So there we are. The Moto E 4G second generation from Motorola, a truly outstanding budget phone that offers many of the bells and whistles of its more expensive cousins, but without the hefty price tag. You can get this little beauty for under £100 on pay as you go. If you're a power user with a bigger budget who needs a quality camera, then perhaps this isn't the model for you. But if you want a reliable daily driver that is small on cost but big on features, I would seriously consider the Moto E 4G second gen, and it may even have converted me away from my phablet phones. That's enough from me. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.